Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Just to prove to you that this thing does not have a title screen, I just opened up the game again, and here we back are at the fire camp with the boss man, and yeah, that's kind of weird, but it's an independent game. What are you gonna do? Last time we went and visited the town as lookouts, trying to scout around, see if this thing would be easy to take and see if there was any gold around, and apparently there is gold. It's in an old mine somewhere, and the old sheriff kicked out the old miners because you don't want miners in your town because the miners were greedy, and so basically we were looking out for the stuff and trying to find out around town if there was gold, and there was. And sheriff ended up finding out what we were up to and kicked us out of town. So basically, these two Romeo and Juliet-esque figures, your character, and whose canon name is Robin, apparently, even though he's a wolf, which is kind of ironic. Um, but the hawk character named Joseph, basically is a lookout for a rival gang, and you all had to hang out the one night, and basically the idea is that we're going to try to go back in town and warn them about the coming baddies and seeing if we can fight back, maybe, but we'll see. It was in the red morning sun, now risen just above the horizon, that had woken you. So basically we're waking up the next morning after the whole thing. Nor was it a gentle slumbering breath of Joseph against your neck, doing its best to lull you back into sleep. Aww, you sleeping birds. What woke you wasn't even the familiar crick at the base of your tail from sleeping on the bedroll. A stiffness you couldn't wait to stretch out. Yeah, sure, the tail, buddy. Anyways, I noticed that the music isn't playing, and I don't know if I don't know if music was playing when we closed out last time. I think it was. So I think me loading up the game actually didn't trigger the music to play. So I think the next time a music song triggers, it'll open up, but I think there should be some sound or something. I think it might not have been programmed to load back in with the load button. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to find out. It was your thoughts, all your thoughts in your mind, like so many wild horses running, of what may come next. What you both had to do. But it does make it somewhat dramatic, so I kind of appreciate it. The nights spent on the lookout were better than the sleepless nights back at camp, but you still dreaded the dawn that came after. At least you had Joseph this time. At least you had him for what was to come, you hoped. You could feel one of his big wings of his, there it goes, wrapped around your stomach, shifting as he started to wake now. So I think what happened actually, I don't think that was a trigger. I think that the song plays on a loop, and like, basically every, he probably has it programmed, so this is weird meta stuff. I think he has it programmed that every X amount of time, it'll loop the song, basically. So it goes X amount of time passed, trigger the song. And then basically it takes that time and it triggers it again. So when it basically is over, it loops. That's actually kind of clever. But you should also trigger the thing when you hit the load button. As much as you wanted to keep lying here with him just for a few more minutes, you knew you had to get up. Damn, which light, which morning window breaks. Romeo and Juliet. No, it's the morning jays. I think the window breaks is when she goes to the balcony. But there was a scene where they were damning the sun for rising in the morning, I recall. Coffee wouldn't brew itself. You peeled back the blanket as little as you could to let yourself escape, gingerly untucking Joseph's fingers from your side. Sliding off the bedroll and through the dirt, you let Joseph's arm down gently. Crouching low on your knees, you gave his hand a gentle squeeze, feeling the soft, dry, dusty feathers between your fingertips. Holding this moment in your head, that it might stay there. You stood up, dusting yourself off everywhere you could. Time to get ready. Even with Joseph here, your morning routine was mostly the same, just doubled, you suppose. Feed and water the horses, both of them. Make a pot of coffee, double the amounts though. Let it brew for a little longer too, on the same fire you'd used last night together. You kept thinking while the warm coffee boiled. There were many things you didn't have time to think about yet. Even so, unimportant things still rose. An unimportant thought that kept bubbling up was how nice it was to not have the usual knot in your stomach. The tightness that twisted every time at camp when you had to get food or a drink, to use the same tools in the same space as others. It was nice not to have to worry right now, you thought, about sharing this. Joseph wouldn't complain about not having to get coffee from the same pot as you. He wouldn't get angry that you were handling his stuff. Could it have always been this easy? Your stomach rumbling snapped you out of your thoughts. Of course, you'd forgotten breakfast. You went back to your bag and unwrapped some salted pork, holding it between your teeth and tearing a chunk off. You always liked how chewy it was. When you weren't in a rush, the rhythm of your jaw grinding it up helped you think. Possibilities were rolling in your mind, dice cast along the branches of a tree. How things might play out. It's like a plinko board. I've never heard of that. Anyway, although you couldn't just keep it to yourself for now, for better for worse, this is about the two of you. There was both weight and comfort in that thought. As you watched the pot start bubbling in steam, you heard the sound of sleepy shuffling, turning your way to see a waking Joseph. Well, it looks a little short this morning. He was propped up on one elbow, clearly trying to figure out what was in front of him, rubbing his eyes with one winged hand. You saw his pupils contact the morning sun, and it was getting brighter and brighter, focusing on you. Good morning, partner. Is that the sweet smell of coffee I smell brewing? Not sure I'd call it sweet. You looked into the pot at the dark, brown, tar-like substance, regretting the large snoutful you got of it, acrid, bitter scent. Well, the idea is sweet to me, at least. Stuff's damn near magic as far as I'm concerned. With surprising energy for someone who had just woken up, Joseph whipped the blanket off of him, standing and dusting himself off. You watched still as he stretched. His fingers locked together, wings pushed and pulled in front and behind. Might want to turn the music down by 50%. Didn't I do that already? Or is that something that... Huh. I think I turned it down before, and like... I don't know if it like went up again, or if it just kind of made that the new 100%. Not sure. Anyways. The way the feathers of his neck parted and ruffled as he rolled his head about around his shoulders. Let me make sure that while I'm doing a sound check, I may as well check the... Yeah, I'm seeing that going up and down. Based on that, let me just check to make sure that it is actually pulling from the right place. Yep, okay. Just had to make sure. Alright. The hem of his shirt, usually tucked in, but now loose after a night's sleep, rising ever so slightly as he twisted his body. He sighed as he finished, wings on his hips, and his eyes met yours. What are you looking at? Nothing. Uh-huh. Shy smirk crept across his face as he tucked his shirt back in and walked over to you. What you eating? Salt pork. There's some in my bag if you want. I think I will. Thank you kindly. Can you get some cups too? This coffee looks about done. It's overdone if I'm reckoning. You look behind at Joseph crouched as he dug into your bag, giving you a quick thumbs up. You turned to the pot again and stirred it with the spoon a little. Joseph came back around and sat beside you, setting 2 tin cups on the ground with one hand. You've installed other games. NVIDIA does some weird things. Yeah, happens. His beak tore at a piece of jerky in his other hand, hungrily swallowing it down after a few chews. He picked up the pot and poured you both a hot cup, eagerly tapping his cup with yours before drinking. Cheers. You both sipped quietly. You could feel the heat of the coffee traveling all the way down your gullet, burning in your belly. How'd you sleep? Good. Like a pup. Didn't wake once. Me too. Slept better than even that hotel I stayed at that one time. I swear, the sheets on that bed were the softest darn things I'd ever touched. Sounds nice. It was. Last night was nicer, mind you. Another silence between you now. Likely you were both thinking the same thing. Thinking about last night, what you talked about. Silence. Because if either of you spoke, maybe nothing would happen. Maybe the world would stop turning and the sun stop rising. Of course, it still does. You could see it, charting its course away from one horizon to the next. So, what's our plan? Joseph shuffled a little, legs a little bit restless. We killed Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. That's what we said, right? You nodded. Maybe we don't have to. We could just run away. We talked about that, Joseph. If we run, we'll spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. We'll never really be safe. You know, that was actually a perfect place for me to stop now, because, now they're, discussing what they talked about yesterday. So, if you forgot what happened last week, hey, here you go. I don't think they ever did that sort of recall what we did thing in other parts. So it's almost as if I picked the perfect spot to stop yesterday. It's kind of weird. It's like I know narrative tropes. Yeah, you're right. Besides, have you never thought about it? Of course I have. It's not that simple, though. Everyone around him is loyal. It'd be hard to even get the chance. Even if I'd killed him, I wouldn't get away with my life. And even when I thought about it, thought about having that ideal world where he's got a bullet in his brain and I'm home free, there's nothing after, Tantroo. I could never see what would happen in the rest of my life. It was blank. Just a desert. If you were to kill him now, what do you see? Joseph looked ahead, thinking. The feathers on his face fluttered in the wind. Something, I suppose. Not nothing, at least. I think maybe I can trust that. Are we really going to be able to kill them, though? I don't know. They bleed and die like anyone else. It's just hard to get a chance. At some point, our gangs are going to go to clemency and take them with us. Or take us with them. Take them with us. Bam! Anyway, whether we like it or not, I think we should try to use that to our advantage. Unfamiliar place for them, at least. What about everyone in town? They shouldn't have to be involved with this. They're already involved. We can't change that. I just wonder if any of them would help us. I doubt it. Do you think? You looked at Joseph and he turned to look at you too, his brow furrowed. Sheriff? You felt a cold dread wash over you, even in the heat of this morning sun. No, I don't think Sheriff wants anything to do with us. We'd be dead before we crossed the town line, remember? I know. That's just... There was something about it. How Sheriff was when we told us we're told to leave. I don't know if I fully believed it. Sorry, Joseph. I think that's just wishful thinking. Hey, you listen to me now. I ain't making it up. You picked the commercial break well. Have you subscribed? This thing is brought to you by Ray Shadow Legends. It's not. Don't play Ray Shadow Legends. Please. God, have some decency to yourself. His voice was suddenly sterner. The timidness that had been in his voice was now gone. I'm telling you, Sheriff, I don't think Sheriff wanted to tell us to leave. There was something far too sad about it. You saw it too, right? I'm not imagining it. You thought back. It had hurt too much to dwell on it, but now that you thought about it, you had to kind of agree. It wasn't like those other times when you'd been exiled or barred from places. There was anger there, but also a frustration and disappointment. That wasn't normal. You might be right. Even so, I don't think we can go waltzing back into clemency and expect Sheriff to welcome us with open arms. We still don't even have a plan. I think we need to talk to Sheriff. Even if we don't have a plan, Sheriff needs to know what's coming. Yeah, you're right. I just don't know how. We need to get to Sheriff without being seen, ideally. I don't want to risk getting shot, however unlikely, without being seen. You set your coffee down, getting up and walking to the edge. You didn't need binoculars to see the shape of the town from up here, how the land moved and shallowed down towards the buildings. You looked along the cliff in the opposite direction, to where you'd gone yesterday. Hey, Joseph, I think if we ride our horses this way, we could maybe get into town from the back. Sheriff's office is at the back of town there. If we surrendered ourselves, we might be able to talk to Sheriff. Joseph got back up from where he was and walked over to you, looking along the cliff where you were pointing, sipping his coffee. Oh yeah, that could work. What, not a fan of the idea? Oh, no, we can do that. This coffee is just, muddy vile. He held the cup up over the edge and tipped it upside down, the brown sludge falling into the sand below. Let's get going. We don't have much time for both of us be needing to head back to our gangs. Yeah, of course. You took one last look along the cliff face, then started helping Joseph clear up the camp, making haste to get to your horses. You rode as quick as you could down the cliff face, taking a long route to the back of town. Climbing off your horses, you tied them up out of sight of the rocky outcropping. You started your cautious walk to the edge of town together, cautious about being spotted. Sheriff's office was right in front of you, the squat building backing up onto this side of the desert. 3 scorpions died from the coffee. Hey, I'm not particular in making coffee from a percolator. Okay, I'm used to drip feed. They haven't even invented that yet, but whatever. Anyways, 2 square windows were cut into the face of the building, holes in the frame from where the bars once were. As you got closer, you listened out for anything that might tell you where Sheriff was. rhythmic tapping of the wood carried on the wind from your front of the porch. Yeah, from the sign that was kind of like basically lopsided last we saw it. Carefully, you and Joseph sidled up to the building. Sticking close to the side, you shuffled along the stone wall, cold in the shade. At the edge, you slowly peeked your head out, squinting through the morning sun. Sheriff was sitting on the porch outside, looking out into the town, cane tapping idly on the wood boards. You hadn't been noticed yet. Yeah, sneaking up on him's a great way to surrender yourselves, guys. Hey, Sheriff, I'm just sneaking up on you over here. Don't worry about it. Anyway, you pulled your head back and nodded at Joseph, him nodding back in turn. You both drew your guns. Oh yeah, that's great, guys. Backs to the walls and called out. Sheriff. You heard the panic shuffling of someone getting in their chair and then the cocking of a gun. Who goes there? Oh, what was his voice? God. Nah, I should have remembered his voice. Who goes there? Or is it like there's a Chinese chair? Yeah, who goes there? Get out of here. Yeah, so it wasn't like the old man. That was like his was a little bit more throaty. It was the preacher guy. His guy was a little bit more like, yeah, that guy. Alright. Who goes there? It's us, Sheriff. Joseph and Tantroo. We mean no harm. As you heard the sheriff's footsteps coming around the corner, you both pull your hands up, guns hanging limply from the fingers. You step back from the building. Oh yeah, it looks like that, doesn't it? Actually, it looks like I'm freaking gonna blow his brains out. Should have probably made an artwork for me holding up the gun and surrender. And by the way, if you don't hold your gun like that and surrender, if you're going to freaking surrender, you drop the gun. Like, don't hold it. Even if it is drooping on your finger. You step back from the building and out of the shade as Sheriff came to face you, a gun loosely pointing in your direction. What am I looking at here? Why are you back? You surrendering? Yeah, kinda, Sheriff. We need to talk. For real this time. Oh yeah? And I'm supposed to believe any cobbywalkle you say now, am I? Nah, we know we betrayed your trust. We lied to you about why we're here, but we didn't lie about the danger to the town. And all else fails, go back to Scotcher. We got terms. We're asking for you for a chance to explain ourselves. Sheriff's brow was furrowed. You could see that even under the tough, scaled skin. A few moments of silence passed between you. Sheriff holstered the gun slowly and calmly and clicked, and the click of it unlocked cocking let you breathe freely again. And for some reason, we're still pointing our gun at him. The art's not matching the situation here a little bit. Come into the office then. If you have things to discuss. You gave each other a look of relief as Sheriff turned your back, put your guns away, and followed the lizard around. The office was darker inside than yesterday, the morning sun not quite shining the same way. Sheriff stood with both hands on the cane, face curious and stern, still untrusting. So, boys, what do you need to talk about? You looked at Joseph, and he met your eyes. They were darting around the same small way they do, even when you're focusing on a point. He gave you a little wink. That was all you needed. Yesterday, when we told you about those outlaws heading here, that wasn't a lie. Or I guess it was a white lie. Our gangs know about this place, and they're gonna be coming here, gold or not. So you were scouting their town out? Makes sense. Still, I don't see what's stopping you from lying about this town. You both know we can't do much defending ourselves from a whole gang. So frankly, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, and you don't want to hurt us, then just lie to them. Tell them we're armed to the teeth. Scare them off. They won't be stupid enough to still try. I guess we could, but... But what? Look, I appreciate you're trying to come clean and help somehow, but this ain't our business, you see. It's not one gang, it's two. I'm from the Curly Wolf gang. And I'm from the Black Vultures. You're from two different gangs? Well, I'll be damned. You seem so friendly with each other. That's the thing, Sheriff. We don't want to work for him anymore. Curly Wolf and Black Vulture, we want to kill him. We need each other's help to do that. We can't do it alone, you see. Your heart was beating fast in your chest. Saying it out loud, saying it to the sheriff, changed things. Oh, so wait, this uncocked gun is not safe? Oh boy. I mean, it's a stereotype, right? Yeah. Before you could convince yourself otherwise, you took Joseph's hands in yours, squeezing it tight as you stood next to him. Yeah. Besides, there's no guarantee we'd be able to convince them not to come here, even if we did lie to them. We need your help too, Sheriff. Sheriff's face remained stern, or maybe concerned your thought. Eyebrows flat across his eyes, thinking. You boys sure about this? That's what you have to do? Yes. Yeah. Joseph's hands moved, ensuring its grip of the fingers entwined with yours. Shh. Shh. Getting a little old for things like this, but alright. Oh, uncocked is safe, okay. Yeah, don't... yeah, still a bad idea to point it. I can't in good conscience endanger the people of this town, but I think I might be able to help. Sheriff got up and started to pace. So your two gangs, they're both gonna come here? Yeah, I know Curly Wolf well for sure. Black Vulture's bored, I could tell. He's itching to do something. Any history between them? Any scuffles? Would they like fight or make a truce if they met? Black Vulture said before he'd fight Curly Wolf, but I don't know if Curly even knows he exists. Curly Wolf wouldn't work with another gang unless he had to. I don't think he'd give up this place so easily. Seems to me like them meeting up would be beneficial to your goals, don't you agree? A fight between them would be chaotic, but maybe that's what we need. Someone might even finish them off for us. It'd be dangerous for us, though. Well, now, hold on. When do lookouts get caught in the scuffle? Almost never, unless we started. If anything, we would be the safest ones of the bunch. You're right. You're right. If you can delay their arrivals, then I might have a solution for you. Clemency gets supplies monthly. They arrive by train about a day and a half's ride from here. That's where the nearest station is. Since it's a whole town's supplies and the trip is long, everyone in Clemency goes in the wagon together. Easiest and safest for all of us. As luck would have it, that's in 3 days. So the town will be completely empty? Not a soul, I can guarantee that. We ride early in the morning and ain't back till the next day. Well, that makes it sound like it's easy to rob. Oh my gosh. Congratulations, lookouts, you know exactly when to rob the place. When everyone goes to get supplies. You get your gangs here on that day and do what you need to do. Best I can come up with on short notice. That would work. Not like we have any other plan, but nothing could happen, but it's better than nothing. Things were happening so fast. Sheriff really wanted to help. This was incredible. Was this really happening? Was this something you can do? 3 days, right? We need to both be here in 3 days? Yep. You think you can do that? I think we can. Joseph looked at you, both holding each other's hands tighter. We have to. Good. Good. And thank you for trusting me with this. You took a real gamble coming back here. No, thank you, Sheriff. Really and truly. I hope to see you again when this is over. God willing, y'all make good on that promise. For sure. I think we both need to get going now. We'll be expected back today. Yeah, we need to start riding soon. Godspeed, then, both of you. Keep yourself safe. You felt sick to your stomach and light on your feet. You nodded to the sheriff and left, still holding Joseph's hand. Back with your horses, you made a last-minute check to your bags, ensuring everything was secure for the long trip back. 3 days from now, you'd be back. Both of you. Some part of you dreaded needed to start this journey, lingering on the feeling of standing... Wait, hold on. Some part of you dreaded needing to start this journey, lingering on the feeling of standing here, not moving. So much had changed since you got here. Now you might be risking it all. It's hard to pull the trigger to move the hammer to strike the primer. I mean, basically, if I recall, because I had like a sort of a toy gun back in my day, like when you pull on the trigger on some of the guns, it automatically cocks it back. It's just a lot harder, right, to pull the trigger because it has to cock back and then let it go when it's rotating. Then when you pre-cock the gun, it's been a while since I've basically seen one. Double action didn't start until automatic pistols. Oh, okay. So back then you had to pre-cock it. Doesn't feel fair. The idea of losing something you just found, only just to get the chance for. You shoved it down though. The ride back was long. You didn't need that kind of worry gnawing at your heart. Pity for you that every time you saw his face, even a glance as you checked at your saddle, it all came rising back to the top once more. My bad coffee. Sorry, couldn't help it. Like a drowning man pushed under the waves. Yeah, that's exactly what my coffee tastes like. Breaching the surface again as he refuses to sink. I think I'm all ready. Me too. Joseph stood by your side now, waiting for you to turn to look at him. You contemplated just getting in the saddle, not lingering for long than you had to. You felt the light touch of his hand on your shoulder. Twisting, pressing your face now over his shoulder, arms clinging around your side, you were holding him before you could even think. Aww. Joseph said nothing. He did nothing too for a moment, until you felt the weight of his arms at your back, tightly clinging to you. Your hand took a great fistful of his clothes between your fingers where they lie, and as you held him tighter, he squeezed you even more. You wouldn't care right now if he squeezed you hard enough to break a rib. Ow, 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 ow. Feathers on his neck tickled your face and poked your closed eye. You could feel the way his back bent as he leaned over and just so slightly over you. You know it's true love when you freaking are in uncomfortable position. This is so uncomfortable, but I won't let go. You don't know how long the hug lasted, but eventually you let go. feel imprints on your skin from where the hardness of his clothes, his buttons, his belt had dug into you. Still, you didn't mind. He held you still, facing each other, holding each other's arms, looking at each other. Joseph's eyes flickered around your face and to the top of your head, holding his gaze there for a moment before leading in. You felt the gentle prod of his beak on your scalp, sharp edges tugging at your fur. Oh, he's preening. He's preening. Ah! Yep. Hey! I called it. He preened through a few more times, pulling gently and spitting the loose hairs to the side. Ugh. Done. He pulled back, his face a little sheepish. Like, man, I didn't think this through. Why am I preening fur? Didn't think this one through. Anyway. Anyone get the sense that one of them's going to die? If this is Romeo and Juliet, they'll probably both die. Oh no, let's not think about that for right now. By the way, the character's name, his colloquial name was Robin, and this guy's name is Joseph. R&J. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet, so I think, yeah, this definitely is wearing its thing on its sleeve. So yeah, it might be tragic, or it might be a happy ending, who knows? Maybe they didn't do the tragic thing, but we'll find out. There, that's better. Need to look your best when you go back. Yeah, that won't make him suspicious at all. Thought your mama said it was impolite to use your beak, Well, she's not here. Besides, I think you fit the criteria. Thank you. Your cheeks were hot and flushed with what felt like all your blood in your body. You were sure you could see the same under his feathers. I'll see you in 3 days, you hear? Yeah. We'll kill those bastards. Yeah. You nodded. His hands trailed your arms as he walked away to his horse. You got up on the saddle too, the reins familiar in your hand. Joseph trotted his horse alongside you, facing the opposite way. Well, partner, time to go. Wait, Joseph, just promise me if something goes wrong, you'll run. Promise? Killing them isn't worth it if you die too. If you run, I'll run. They ain't worth the effort of dying. So wait, was there a sheriff in Romeo and Juliet? I remember there was a nurse. You smiled at him the same type of way, the same type of smile when you left home, weak and worn, but relieved all the same. Goodbye, Tantroo. See you soon, Joseph. Sam. Ralph. You both started on your horses, moving, gently trotting until you no longer were beside each other. You heard Joseph give a caw as his horse set off at speed, kicking up dust into the air when you looked behind you. You set your own horse into a gallop, the rush of the wind in your ears as you rode through and out of Clemency. Back to your gang. Back to the man you were plotting to kill. The midday sun hung harsh and bright in the sky as you made it back to camp, you and your horse both tired from the ride. The current hideout of the Curly Wolf & Co. was a ramshackle affair, nestled in the depths of the rolling hills, hiding away from the sight of any passerby. Riding slowly in, you climb off your horse onto the sun-baked ground and let it over to tie it up with the others. The smell of food wafted, but you could see people cleaning up already. You'd missed lunch. As you made to leave the horse, a sudden thought struck you, and you doubled back to scramble about in your bag. Where was it? You hadn't left it behind, surely. The trickle of panic had started to leak into your chest thankfully stopped as your fingers felt the soft brush of what you were looking for, the feather. You pulled the feather Joseph gave you out of your bag, holding it closely to yourself. You let out a short gasp of a sigh. Well, there is a captain of the guard. Don't worry, I've forgotten most of it too. I do remember the prick of noon joke that the nurse said, because like my teacher had to explain the innuendo. Oi, tomboy! Your ears picked up, and you shot straight up at the sound of Curly Wolf shouting at you. You hastily tucked the feather away in your pocket. You turned and made your way over to Curly, eyes down on the ground, avoiding the looks of the others. You know how things work around here, don't you, tomboy? Yes. Curly grabbed a handful of your poncho, pulled you forward, stumbling before roughly shoving you off your feet and onto your back. You learned how to take a fall by now. You didn't scramble just to let yourself lay in the dirt for a moment, waiting. Get up. You pressed your hand to the ground and got up. Not too fast, not too slow. The others still got a laugh out of this routine, but you were too bored of it to be embarrassed anymore. If you know how things work, then I shouldn't have to punish you for not doing what you're told. When you came back here, you come straight to me and what you found. You don't stand around playing with your little horse. Yes, boss. Right. Come on, spit it out. I found the place. A place called Clemency. It's got some gold from mines, but no bank or anything like that. What do you say now? If Curly knew the sheriff was the only person there who even resembles a lawman, he'd just go barging in. This lie was crucial. He couldn't catch you out. The place looked armed to the teeth even so. All the townsfolk had some way of defending themselves. No gun laws like in other places. Well, shit. Was hoping it'd be a breeze. We need an easy win right now. I found out from the sheriff that the place is going to be empty soon. You were focused on a hill in the distance, not daring to look directly at him. Still, on the edge of your vision, you could see Curly's eyes narrowed, staring at your face, studying it. How come? Overheard that they retrieve supplies for the town every so often, and the next caravan drive is in 3 days. Whole town's gonna be going. It'll be empty and unguarded. The suspicion in Curly's eyes melted into smugness, and a grin split his face from ear to ear. Hot damn. Now that's an easy win. He turned his face away from you, shouting into the air of the camp. Boys! 3 days from now, we're gonna be rich. He walked away around the camp, kept talking, hyping it up, riling everyone up for what was to come. You didn't need to listen anymore. Your job was done for now. You went back to being invisible, staying out of the way, the usual. That night, the hills were full of sound of howling, cheering drunken songs as the Curly Wolf gang prematurely celebrated their victory. This was a bigger deal than you had maybe anticipated. In any case, your goal was the same, and they didn't know what was coming. Curly Wolf didn't know what was coming. He was the cockiest you'd ever seen him. The days after were a blur. If you weren't needed to help with some of the menial work somewhere in camp, you were just sleeping in your tent, trying to avoid the blazing heat, keeping out of everyone's way, like you always did. Waiting, just like everyone else, for the day you'd ride out. Pulling a Diego. On the night before you were due to leave, you snuck out of your tent, out to where no one would see you. Away from the camp, the sounds of it echoed lightly through the air. You clambered halfway down a hill and sat. You didn't do this often. Who knew when someone might come to your tent, needing to drag you away for something? You couldn't risk it often, but being unfindable, but you thought it was important enough to do tonight. To come out here and breathe in the cool air. To stare into the sky across the horizon at the blanket of stars in the sky. Trying to pinpoint constellations you were told about when you were much younger. You wondered if Joseph knew any. You didn't think about it at the time. The feather was in your pocket still, the safest place you can think to keep it. At night, when the lights were out and the tent were filled with sound of someone snoring, you hold it in your hand, flicking it through your claw and your thumb, feeling the smoothness against your fingers just for a bit before you put it back. It helped you get to sleep. Again, now, while you were alone sitting under the stars, you pulled it out of your pocket, fiddling with it in your hand, feeling it tickle the pads of your palm. Your mind wanted to wander, to think about important things, to think about all the ways tomorrow could go wrong, to think about that, what might happen to you both. You didn't let it. The feather helped too, for once. You just felt yourself be calm. You'll see him tomorrow. Until then, worrying would do you no good. You imagined that was the kind of thing he'd say to you if he was there, sitting next to you. The imagined weight of his hand on your shoulder. The thought of his warmth sidling up next to you. All the things you wouldn't feel again if you lost him. You'll see him tomorrow. It's the morning. You're awake early. You didn't sleep much anyway, much as you tried to. The sun was as bright as always, coming through the yellowed fabric of the tent. You laid awake, waiting for the others to get up, waiting for Curly Wolf. He'd start rallying the guys together for a ride to Clemency soon enough. He needed to make sure you were there. The minutes ticked by and you heard more people get up. The camp coming to life once more, with the sounds of work and talk. You got up to got yourself ready, sitting on your bedroll after waiting more. Then the voice of Curly Wolf. "All right, boys, gather round. We're heading to the town of Clemency this morning. I need 10 or so men with me to haul valuables. It's around a half day's ride from here. Who's coming to get our gold?" You heard all of this as you were leaving your tent, making your way to the small crowd of canines. Instantly, there were people joining, eager to prove themselves, to get their hands on real gold. 1, 2, 3 already. You subtly push your way through the crowd, trying to reach the front. Pushed out the edge of the crowd by the huddling bodies, you found yourself standing in front of Curly. He stared at you, even as he clapped the hands of the shoulders of other guys walking past, joining the excitable group. "What you standing here for, Tom boy? We don't need any little pups to help shift the goods." You needed to be on this crew. You couldn't talk back to him, though. You didn't know what to say. What could you say? You just kept standing there. "You think you're gonna be any help with that scrawny stick?" He grabbed your arm, raising it up and down, shaking it by the wrist. Every inch of you was screaming to snatch your arm from his hands, but you knew that would happen if you did. He threw your arm back at you, making you stumble a bit. "Go make yourself useful someplace else. I only need real men for this trip." You had to say something. You had to. You had to be there. You'll need a lookout." He was looking at the assembled group, doing a quick head count. "All right, boys, that's 10. Be ready to move out in 5 minutes." He didn't seem to hear you. Your words were quiet, whispered. You tried again. "You'll need a lookout, Curly." His ears twitched. He didn't turn to face you. I heard you the first time. Stop yapping to me about bullshit. We don't know when the townsfolk will be back. It'll be bad if they come back while you're there, and even worse if there's no one keeping an eye out. You all have time. Will have your hands full already. You heard him sigh, and a little growl rose in his throat before it subdued into nothing. Fine then, tomboy. If you're that eager to come, I suppose I'll have to let you. You're riding in the wagon. You don't need a horse. No, you didn't get the privilege when other people needed them, you supposed. The wagon was fine by you. You knew it was a punishment of kinds, but you'd be riding in on the way back, too, along with everything else. Boxes and sacks of supplies and whatnot. All bumping about, hoping none of them fall over and hit you. Cramped space with nowhere to sit or lie, just standing for hours waiting for it to stop. Get a move on. You followed after Curly to get ready. If I were the character, I would have mentioned it's like I know the layout of the town, and you need somebody who knows the layout of the town to come with you, because like literally he has all the intel. It's like he was the one that's like, I was told there was gold, right? I'm the one who's walked about the town. Like, bringing him's a no-brainer, honestly, if you're not a bunch of dumb ruffians. Of course, what Curly didn't know was that they weren't going to be coming back here. Neither of you were. From where you sat, slumped in the corner of the wagon, the wind whistled through the gaps in the canvas next to your head. The edges flap, the wind ruffling your clothes and your fur, drying up your nose as you sit with your knees up. The wagon rocks and bumps as it dragged by the horse through the desert, and this corner is the only place you feel safe enough to stay. You could at least keep yourself steady even as it tried to knock you about, clinging onto the wooden wooden frame of the frickin' cart, which doesn't have a door. I'm too used to seeing frame with the word door in our modern world. Looking toward the entrance of the wagon, where the covering split down the middle, you couldn't see much. Or rather, you could see were great clouds of dust billowing from the wheels into the dry air. As uncomfortable as the wagon was, at least it provided shelter from the sun, unlike riding on horseback. The wind coursing through your ears were welcome too, cooling your head that was swimming with thoughts. You knew you were close to clemency now. The entourage had been traveling long enough. As you got closer and closer, the minutes stretched on. You felt sick to your stomach. Less so butterflies, more like hornets. This was going to be it. This is what you'd been waiting for. Not just for days, but years, really. A chance like this. All the anxieties and concerns you'd pushed down last night were rushing back up like geysers. What if Joseph wasn't there? What if this gang wasn't there? What if you reached Clemency and Curly realizes you were lying? What if you couldn't kill them both? Or they demolished the town and sheriff came back and found nothing left? To find you'd broken your promise? What if you were killed quickly or slowly? You'd seen Curly kill traitors before. The simple fear of dying took hold of your heart, the chill of a reaper's shadow. No, this wasn't going to be it. This isn't all there was going to be. You'd see him again soon. You'd do what you had to together. This wasn't going to be it. There wasn't going to be more after. It was hard for you to imagine, but you knew it to be true. There would be days after today. You wanted to see him. And if you die, at least there was for a reason. Sure as hell weren't going to go out without a fight. This was a risk you'd always been willing to take. You and Joseph would take it together, and you were going to see it through. You steeled your resolve, locking the furnace of your heart so that no one may put it out. The rumble of the wagon started to slow. The rocking back and forth became gentler and gentler, until everything came to a stop with a small lurch. The constant motion that had been in your body was gone all of a sudden. Everything seemed impossibly still, like when the many conversations in a bar all died down suddenly, leaving it quiet in a strange moment. You heard the thud of Curly jumping off his horse and crawled the floor of the wagon to the front. Curly came and opened the low wooden door, letting you slide out the wagon and jump out. The light of the late morning sun was blinding, and you held your arm over your brow to shelter your eyes. As your eyes adjusted, the bright desert became clear. Hazy rock formations in the distance became familiar. Walking around the wagon, you saw the shapes of buildings that set your teeth on edge. The town of Clemency. "Here we are, boys. What a shithole. No one here, at least. We'll take what's here and leave it sharpish. Wanna know what hit him? Ain't that right, tomboy?" He slapped you hard on the back. There was anticipation here amongst yourselves. This was the place they'd be waiting for. You'd been waiting for it too, but the anticipation was not one of eagerness. Even in your brief visit here, many things had been happened. In some way, being back in Clemency was comforting. Despite that, you couldn't ignore the chill in your veins at the prospect of what will come next. There was no backing out now. It felt like those few times in the past when the fuse on a stick of dynamite had been lit, and you were still holding it. There was only going to be a few moments until the spark reached the end of the wick. And then you'll earn a Nobel Peace Prize. Anyways, Curly started walking into town, and you followed suit with everyone else, staying close behind him. Clemency was dead quiet, not a soul in sight, just like the Seraph said it would be. He studied the town as you walked down the main street, peering through the windows, drawing up plans in his head. Every building you walked past filled you with a little more fear. You were still waiting for something to happen, for anyone else to appear. Sure enough, Curly would want to get started for real, and ask you where the gold was supposed to be. Then at the end of the street, you saw what you were waiting for, who you were waiting for. A hazy, clumped group of guys making their way to the main street from the other side of town. As they got closer, it became clearer. The figure of a tall and slender bird, with many others in tow straggling behind him, much like you behind Curly. Curly stopped as he spotted the group too, staring them down. "Now who the hell is that in my town?" He started walking again with a purpose and menace, and they quickened their pace and turned towards you. You felt your heart beating in your chest now, reaching up into your throat, blood rushing, adrenaline starting to build in you. They were really here, and you could see Curly wasn't happy about it. Both sides slowed as they came closer to each other, coming to a stop halfway down the street, a few dozen paces between them. Not too close, not too far. You saw Black Vulture more clearly now, and he was looking with intrigue at Curly. You looked past him You looked past him, though, desperately searching the small crowd of people following in his wake, until you saw the one you'd been waiting for. Joseph, stony-faced and stern, blending in with his compatriots. It was almost funny to compare to the laid-back and jovial man you'd gotten to know. After a few moments longer of staring at each other down, Black Vulture spoke. "Well, well, is that who I think it is? The infamous Curly Wolf. What's it to you? And what are you doing in my town?" Well, I'd imagine we're both here for much the same reason. I've heard tales of your exploits. Can't say the same. Who are you? I'm Black Vulture, gentleman outlaw of the... Doesn't ring a bell. The feather of Black's neck clearly ruffled at Curly's rebuttal, but he waved it off. More fool you, I say. You're here for the gold, then? Yes, and how strange that we might run into each other out there like this. I'm still willing to bet you're not a sharing man. Like I said, this is Curly Wolf's property now, so you best go on and fly away. No, I don't think we will, Curly. I think it might be a shame for so much gold to be wasted on scum like you. You keep that high-flung beak of yours shut unless you want a barrel of a gun inside it. Let us see then, Curly Wolf. To the victor goes the spoils, and I intend to spill that tiny brain of yours across the dirt. Fine by me. Don't need much of brain to shoot you. This wasn't how you wanted things to go. You and Joseph were still in the thick of it, facing each other. You thought you'd be out of the fight. The air was still. Hands came to hover over guns. Every pair of eyes trained on the opposing side, waiting. In a standoff like this, it was a test of the boss's mettle, their mental fortitude. How long would anyone last before pulling the trigger? Trying to psych each other out. Being the first to take the shot wasn't always the best call, but having to react to the first shot could be worse. It's a test of loyalty, too. For everyone following them, your underlings couldn't step out of line or take the shot themselves. To break rank early would be betrayal, but when bullets went flying, it was unpredictable. Staying at risk to yourself. You knew Curly was a good shot. He had the upper hand here, but you were reminded of something Joseph told you. Black Vulture wasn't the shootiest. He had someone else for that. He could brag, but he wasn't the real one. You thought about whether Curly should know. Alright, that's the choice, guys. Should we tip him off that he's a bad shot, or should we keep quiet? I would lean towards keep quiet, because why would I know that information? It's like, I shouldn't know that information. That he is a sniper. Though if I saw him, like, here's the thing, like, if I saw the sniper, then it might be like, oh, there's a sniper back there. And then, like, make him take his first shot and then kind of sneak off in the crossfire. But keeping quiet, like, means that maybe, you know, he'll take the hit. Who is the weakest link? Goodbye. So, what do you guys think? Keep quiet or tip him off? In fact, I'm gonna, hold on a second. We're gonna pick a save slot here. Keep quiet, we have... So how many people we got in here? I didn't look at the... Alright, we have like 2 quiets. There's only like a few people here, so that's it. Keep quiet. No, it was better if Curly didn't know about the shootiest. The shootist. As dangerous as it was to leave someone like that hanging around during a fight, it was more danger to him. The seconds dragged on. It felt as though your very breath may tip the scales, chest heavy from breathing the air of the people who wanted to kill you. So it's going to be interesting if, like, this is a tragedy and, like, that call that I just made basically determined who's going to die, right? Like, if I didn't tell him about the shootist guy, right, like, it's probably going to be that, like, we're going to be at a disadvantage now, so, like, I could end up dead. Whereas, like, if I tipped him off, it would basically turn things to our advantage, and then basically, you know, Joseph could end up dead. There was safety in numbers in the crowd. Even so, you found yourself for the first time thinking about running. Never before had you considered it. This time was different, of course. There wasn't going to be a next time. Running would tip the scales for sure, but you couldn't know who in whose favor. Playing it safe with the gang, or run and let all hell break loose. Oh, that's a good one too. All right, so. What do we do? Do we stand our ground or do we run? Seeing as I didn't tell him about the shootist, quote-unquote shootist, who's probably not in the group right now, he's probably in the distance. Taking a run and distracting people could cause, obviously the thing to turn against our favor even more. Don't worry, Tony. Cross your finger that everyone else kills each other and you just ride them from the sunset together. Yeah, right? So what do you think? Do we run or do we go? I'm kind of leaning towards run. Since I didn't tell him about the shootist, I think it would cause a fuss. Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now? As if I stay there will be trouble, or if I go there will be trouble, and if I stay it will be double. Oh, you gotta let me know. Should I stay or should I go? This indecision's booking me. Anyways, yes, well, we decided to stay. No, if you ran, you might make yourself a target. Better to stick with the gang until they scatter. Pumpkin spice is okay. It's not something I obsess over. I did have one of those pumpkin cream pies from McDonald's lately, and it did hit the spot. It was my pumpkin thing for the year. Curly spoke up in a low voice, cast to those behind him. Watch and learn, boys. He flexed the wrist of his hand, holding it out, before clutching his gun in the holster. You saw Black Vulture react to turn, reaching for his gun. Curly liked to play with his food, to show off. He waited for the moment. Black grabbed his black gun the same, then quickly and expertly pulled it free, pointing it dead straight. He knew he'd always be quick around the draw. Oh, jeez. Didn't even... The shot rang out. A bang, and I didn't expect the sound effect. The game startled me, man. I wasn't expecting sound. Like, this game hasn't had any sound at all until this point. Jeez. Anyways, the shot rang out. A bang that made your heart jump. Yeah, it did, actually. And you saw Black Vulture double over, clutching his side. The smoke was barely visible from the barrel of Curly's gun when another shot rang out. Full-on ego and admiring his handiwork, he hadn't noticed one small bird hanging on the edge of the crowd that raised his rifle. Curly's face instantly twisted into a full-toothed cry of pain, eyes clenched shut, staggering back a step as he clutched at the side of his chest. Wow, okay, yeah, Paw Patrol's #1 at the box office. That's a surprise. It's got a fandom, I suppose. But I didn't know it was that big. Fuck. A moment passed before the crowd behind you dispersed, everyone running to take cover as the fight broke out. I said last time that this was PG. It just raised its rating to like PG-13 just now. Because it's had like there's so much more language recently, and now we're actually breaking out into violence. So it went from a PG to a PG-13 rating, and not because of the gay romance, okay? On the other side, you saw the same, a clump of figures scattered like ashes to either side of the street. You couldn't see where Joseph went, and you couldn't afford to hang around as much more shots were fired. Curly was struggling to move and turned to see you standing there alone. A bullet whizzed by, striking the ground. He gave you a look and slumped over onto you, one arm slung over your shoulder, much of his weight bearing down on you now. You had no choice but to help carry him out of the street, knees shaking as you walked as quickly as you could. I'm gonna finish him off. Your compatriots fired a volley of rounds down the street, providing you enough cover to drag your bleeding boss between the two buildings. He was heavy on your neck and wobbling as you walked together, his stride still outpacing you as you tried to keep up and push him along. You kept walking through the long clump of houses that lined the main street, pushing through the other side where it gave way to a hill. At the corner that led out of the shade, he rested against the wall, leaning the load off of you as he craned his neck to check if the way was safe. Again, without a word, he re-slumped onto you, and you walked around the corner together. Curly used the houses as support too now, bloodied hand dragging across the walls as he used you to drag him ever forward. Definitely PG-13 now. Gunshots continued to run out, bouncing through the alleyways and streets next to you. The acrid smell of gunpowder grew stronger, even as your nose was full of the scent of Curly's sweat-laden fur. You stumbled around the back a little more before Curly's weight suddenly became crushing, like gravity itself had become stronger. The full weight of Curly lay on you for a moment before your knees buckled and he slid off with a grunt. He threw out a hand trying to catch himself, scraping it on the wall of the house as he fell, coming to sit in the dirt. He sat with his back flat against the slatted wall, one hand reaching across to grasp his side so hard you could see the tendons. The other hand clutched his gun, finger resting next to the trigger. He breathed slowly and heavily through gritted teeth, staring over the edge into the rest of the town, across roofs and into the desert. His ears twitched with the pop of guns around you, seeming to come from every direction. This was the best chance you were going to get, you thought. He was so vulnerable looking. Some part of your mind, though, said you couldn't. You can't kill him. Something will go wrong. He's a hurt and quartered animal right now. Staring real hard at me there, tomboy. Worried I'm gonna croak you? Don't. I'm not going anywhere. You could feel the weight of your gun in the holster as you shifted at your feet. The space where your hand needed to be to grab it. Curly fidgeted about like it was impossible for him to get comfortable where he was before giving up and sitting crooked. We'll hide out here for the time being. The boys will take care of things. You're not much good in a fight, but you are better at protection than nothing. Some of Black Vulture's lot might come this way, so keep your eyes peeled. You gently unholster your gun, letting it dangle on your fingers by the handle. You didn't want to stick around, but you didn't know how the fight was going. You didn't know if Joseph was alright. You're just wasting time standing here with the bastard bleeding on the ground right next to you. Just shoot him. That's all you had to do. Just shoot him and be done with it. You've killed people before. He deserves it more than most. And still, you can't bring yourself to do anything. Your ears pick up. You hear the sound of someone running this way, thudding fast against the dirt, and look up. You swing your gun up hastily, ready for whoever's scrolling coming your way. You don't see anything for a few more moments until a bird comes running out, looking around frantically. It was Joseph. Panting, holding his shotgun in both hands as he looks your way with his eyes land on you. They light up with the brightest of fireworks. Oh shit, there's one! The glint of Curly's gun shone in the corner of your eye as he moved, arm crossing his body, pointing upward. Joseph's eyes widened, pupils becoming pinpricks, trying to turn tail and run as he saw Curly take aim. It was all so quick and it felt like an eternity, as you yourself lifted your gun, aiming directly at Curly's hand and steadied itself. Before doubt and fear took a hold, You squeezed the trigger and saw his hand explode. Why shoot his hand? Shoot his head. Come on. The sound of the shot rattled through your head. Joseph staggered and stopped as it went off. Curly snatched his hand away. His gun dropped to the ground with a dull thud, and he buried his hand into himself, crying out and growling. Grrr! Fuck! What the... He looked bewilderingly at Joseph, failing to understand what had blasted the fingers off his hand, before looking to his side, at you. Looking at the wisps of smoke from the barrel of your gun. You felt yourself panting heavily, hands shaking, in fact your whole body shaking with adrenaline. You heard the thump of footsteps again, and looked up to see Joseph run over, slowing as he neared you and Curly. The two eyes met. The two met eyes, anger and disgust spilling into Curly's face in equal amounts, while Joseph's became pitiful, you thought. So, this is him, huh? The great Curly Wolf. Joseph came down from your eye level, crouching to Curly, studying his face. Huh. All that makes a little more sense now. Found yourself a little buddy, did you? He won't stick around. I can see it in his eyes. Shut your trap, Curly. He get away with that one at PG-13. Anger flitted across Curly's brow, but he wasn't stupid. He knew he wasn't getting out of this situation. He was as good as dead. You really are two peas in a pod. Traitors and cowards who just run from everything. His breaths were haggard, throat hoarse and harsh, holding up out of spite more than anything else. Whatever he told you, promised you, tomboy, it's not real. I know people like that when I see it. When things get tough, he'll leave. He'll run like all the other times. Or will you run first? You might say that it's not so, but I know a liar when I always have been. I've always known you're a liar, always have been. Should have known you'd betray me sooner or later. Saw it in your eyes all those times. Never liked you. Do you even know his name? Joseph regarded Curly coolly, but his anger wasn't concealed by a sharp spite in his voice when he clenched his jaw. Doesn't matter. What's it name anyhow? If I did call someone and they come, that's their name. Answer the question. Do you know his name? Curly squinted up at Joseph, the sun shining in his face. You and Joseph's shadows cast up the wall beside him. No, of course I don't. Why? The deafening blast of Joseph's shotgun cut him short, and you flinched away, averting your eyes from the peppered red mass of his chest. Say my name, bitch! Say his name, bitch! Well, we're pushing that PG-13 rating, guys. You followed the moment of your flinch, turning around, gazing across the hill and down the town, breathing in and out. You heard one last breath of sorts behind you, a gurgle of blood from the mouth, and the rustle of clothes as he fell limp. Wrong answer. Tantroo? Was that the right answer? I don't know. You gingerly reach a hand behind at him, tugging at his shirt when you found purchase, pulling yourself in. I wouldn't think dead bodies are the thing that turn you on, but anyways. His arms caught around you as you took a weak step toward him, returning his embrace as he held you close, your heads over each other's shoulders. There was a pit in your stomach making you nauseous. You closed your eyes and you breathed in, focusing on his smell so close to you. Are you alright? Are you hurt? I'm fine. I'm fine. You pulled away from each other as you heard more gunshots, the fight starting up again, no doubt caused by Joseph's shotgun. We need to get somewhere safe. Wait for this to blow over. Once they realize Curly's dead, the guys will probably hightail it out of here. Where's Black Vulture? Not sure. Lost him when the fight broke out. I'm much more concerned about finding you, really. Holstering a gun, you stooped down and picked up Curly's revolver from where it had fallen. You grabbed Joseph's hands and placed it on your shoulder to pull him with you, walking briskly, keeping on the way you'd been going already. We could skirt around the edge of town and make our way to the saloon, safest place I could think of. Joseph nodded and followed you, trailing by his arm, your gun held firm and ready in your hands, cautious of every alley you passed. He kept following the edge of the hill, heading for where the street bent, sheriff's office being across the way. You were aiming to loop around the back of the office to avoid a firefight in the street, but as it came into view, a tall figure started to pass by. He didn't notice you at first, but the sound of you both stopping short to get his attention, and you met the eyes of Black Vulture. Well, well, what do we have here? Take a prisoner, Joseph? You could see the blood staining his coat, his shirt on the side of his stomach where he pressed a hand, but he seemed surprisingly unfazed. Following Black from behind the building, you caught the bird, recognizing it as the shootist, the one who shot Curly. He stood behind Black, rifle firm in both hands, mask covering his face, small eyes watching keenly. The grip of Joseph's hand on your shoulder grew tighter and pulled you toward him a little, continuing to walk forward slowly. Yeah, thought he might be useful. Should have some knowledge about Curly Wolf's hideouts and whatnot. Black grunted, hunched over now but stalling taller, his crooked neck raising above his head above yours. Always quick on your feet, Joseph. It's good thinking. I'm just curious as to why you're not holding him to gunpoint. He took a few steps closer to you both. Oh, indeed. Why I had to take a bullet for your actions. My actions? My actions? You ran, you slimy traitorous coward. You ran with your tail between your legs, and now I'm bleeding from the stomach. Your palms were sweating, your head down, faced away from Black and his shootist, hiding the gun in your hand. It was a bad time to get caught in the act. You thought about whether this was your chance to kill Black, but he was so close to you both, with his own gun drawn still. And you knew now how hard it would be for Joseph to try to kill him, and fear dripped inside his chest. We shouldn't stick around. Curly's guys might find you. You dared to look behind you, look at where they'd been standing, but you saw in Black's eyes you'd made a mistake. The glint of a gun in your hand, hidden and now revealed itself as you twisted your body ever so slightly, too much. Joseph must have seen the connection too, the spark of realization in Black's eyes. He swung his arms suddenly towards Black, bashing him beside the head with a shotgun and knocking him to the ground with a grunt. The shootist, even while watching closely, was caught off guard, and though he readied his rifle quickly, you had already been looking at him. He aimed the revolver at his head and fired a shot clean through. His mask flew off, twisting into the air. As the shootist fell, his dying trigger finger squeezed enough to let loose a final shot from his tilted rifle. Oh, no. You heard the telltale thud of a blood hit someone, and Joseph cried out for a moment, hands clutching his thigh, Oh, good, a thigh shot? Well, that's actually not good. There's an artery there. Damned little son of a gun. It still got me. Black was already starting to stir from being knocked down when you pushed your head under Joseph's arms. Come on, we need to go, now. Joseph held his arm around your shoulder, using your help to take off some of the weight off, but still limping as fast as he could with the pain. You abandoned your plan to go around the town and ran through the nearest alley, towards the main street, and towards the fight. You couldn't afford to get caught out by someone again, black or otherwise. Joseph was too hurt, and you just had to get to that saloon. As you reached the street, everything had lulled once again, the air deadly quiet all of a sudden. You poked your head out, but whatever people were hiding, it wasn't anywhere near you. The saloon was just across the street. You had looked to Joseph, his face close to yours, and he nodded. You pushed off together, running and walking as fast as you could to get across without being seen. Halfway across the wide street, the saloon porch so close, you looked behind you only to see Black coming to a halt as your eyes met. Wiping blood off of his face from his cracked beak, he aimed his gun at both of you from an alley entrance. Your heart skips a beat as you crash to the ground, pulling Joseph with you, hoping you might dodge the bullet. Shot rings out, but it didn't come from behind you. In fact, you quickly looked towards Black to see him ducking down. His hat was knocked off by an unknown shot, and he grabbed it before scuttling back, hiding further into the alley. The shot spooked the hiding gang members too, as a couple shots fired back, and then many more added to the cacophony. I'm gonna guess like one of the townspeople stayed behind, the saloon bartender maybe, or the sheriff. You picked Joseph and yourself off the dusty ground, seeing down the street that many were shooting up at some attackers on the roofs. You took off running into a crouch with your hand balled into a fist around your gun and the back of Joseph's clothes, dragging him with you. Both stumbling up the stairs of the saloon porch, you flung open the doors and helped Joseph inside with haste. There was a loud crack as the wooden door frame was struck and splintered near your head. As you turn and slam the door shut, you see Black pull away from aiming at you, now having to reload. With the door shut, your eyes adjusted to the dimly lit interior, the sun not quite shining the same way as it was the last time you hit here. Joseph stood with his leg injured slightly off the floor, leaning on a table with one hand. You go over to him and unholster your gun, handing it to him by the barrel, handle pointed upward. You take it. You need something better than your shotgun. I have it for a reason, Tantroo. I'm a real terrible shot. More likely to hit you than whoever I'm aiming at. Then take it for good luck. I haven't had it for a long time and it's always done me well. He gave you a hesitant look still, but you both knew the time was of the essence and he didn't want to have put you in danger. You trusted him, but you knew you knew that this wasn't dangerous. 2 revolvers is much good to me. Just take it and hide. Black's still coming after us. Joseph took the pistol from you and slid his shotgun across the floor to the end of the bar, limping over to hide behind it. You ducked down yourself and scuttled over to the nearest window, listening to the shootout happening outside. You needed to know where Black Vulture was. You pulled up and peeked over the windowsill. And as soon as you pulled your head far enough up, your eyes landed on a distant figure of Black, rifle aimed directly at you. You immediately snapped away from the window and pressed yourself against the wall, holding still as one louder shot echoed across the street. The window next to your head broke with a shrill twang, the panes falling on the sill and shattering either side, the floor covered in glass. You felt a sharp pain pierce your ear and reach up to feel the tip missing, your fingers slick with blood as you brought them down. The side of your face started to feel wet. You could feel your fur matting and sticking to the inside of your ear. He'd known where you were. He He'd almost got you, but you knew where he was now, and he'd probably try to move to throw you off. You reared your head up along with your gun, spotting Black sneaking away from where he was to try to avoid the errant bullets. He saw you as you took aim as through the window, but you weren't gonna falter and let him get the jump on you again. You followed his movements with your hand, watching where he was going, and squeezed the trigger just ahead of him. The gunshot echoed through the saloon, and a single moment later, Black fell with a small bray of blood, clicking up dust as his legs splayed out. You stood up a little, still crouched, peering more clearly over the window to get a better look at him on the ground. He didn't seem to be breathing. You kept watching for any sign of life, any movements. But even as bullets from the fight hit the dirt and the wood beside him, he didn't seem to stir. You gingerly kicked the broken glass under you aside, taking a deep breath. You slunk down and sat with your back to the wall, ears down, not wanting to attract any shootists still outside. Just call them shooters. Who calls them shootists? Is that like an older word? The wary head of Joseph poking out from the end of the bar, looking at you, his eyes then flickering around the window. I got him. He's dead. Black's dead. We should just lie low for a bit. Yeah, right. You can't really hide behind walls anymore. It doesn't work. For some guns, yeah. Joseph nodded, shuffling out from behind the bar a bit more. Made a bit of a mess of the saloon. Hope Bart won't be too mad about it. Shootist is a westernly term. Okay. Well, you can only be as good of a narrator as the story is written, so this is a pretty good visual novel. I do like it, and I can see why it was nominated. You hope so too. You guess sheriff must have told people about what was happening, but you weren't sure. You'd help fix it up if you could. You sat there, waiting, listening as the fight outside died down. You could hear some distant shouts, sounds of people running, the wind blowing, howling through the open window. The crunch of glass. Your ears flicked towards the noise as a feathered hand shot through the window, grasping at your face. Oh my gosh, he's still alive! He's never dead until he's dead. The arm grabbed you under your chin and pulled and jerked you up. Breaths became caught and strained as you were half choked to the window. You dropped your gun and desperately pulled at the arm, claws digging into your skin, a black swing as he tried to break free. Another arm threw itself in as he got to his knees, pressing your head against the wooden windowsill and tilting your head back. You could see his face close in to your periphery, and his other hand now came to your throat, something sharp and cold resting against your skin. Oh, he's got freaking glass. Dang. The shard of glass glinted in the sun, and refractions danced across the dim saloon. Your claws hurt from scratching feathers out of his arm. You didn't want to die. Your head forced back, neck thrust forward, exposed, looking at nothing but the ceiling above you. This is going to hurt you much more than it's hurting me. That was a really, really weirdly inappropriate. What are you, my daddy now? Like, come on. That's the best you could come up with in this situation? You have me dead to rights, and you're like, I'm going to act as if I'm your daddy, and I'm going to spank you. Sorry, I just had to break character for a moment, because that was... that was a weird line for that situation. Oh, man. I'm going to get swatted. Anyway, the words brushed past your ear. You felt the arm move above. You felt the arm move. The glass starts to prick at your skin. Whoop! A loud bang went off, reverberating around the room and vibrating deep in your body for a moment. You fell to the floor. You crashed into the shattered glass beneath you, twisting to look up at the window, running your hand along your throat with a subsiding panic. The arms that had been around you went limp, hanging through the window along with Black's long neck, his face motionless and frozen. The bloody shards of glass in his hand fell to the floor with a tink. The blood from his head started to drip next to it. You looked over at Joseph and saw him sitting lopsided on the floor, your revolver in his hand still pointing toward the window. He was looking past you at Black, breathing heavily, and then looked in your eyes, his head not moving an inch, just the flickering of his stare. He blinked after what seemed like an eternity, and you felt the roughness of breaths in your throat, a hoarse cough every so often. You pushed your hand against the floor and sat up, Joseph putting the gun down carefully beside him. I think I got him for real then. He gave a small nervous chuckle as he did. As did he. More gunshots started up outside, only less than before. You got up on your knees, holstering the gun you dropped, and crawled carefully over the broken glass towards the floor to Joseph. He took a gentle hold of your shorter arm and a warm squeeze. We should probably play dead right now, just so people think that we're, not going to kill them. We might be in danger here still if someone sees us, especially with old Big Beak there being a window ornament. Yeah, we can go in the storeroom now, I suppose. We looked over the bar at the door to the store, the gentle curve of thinking on his brow before meeting your eyes again. The saloon has rooms, doesn't it? I think that's what Bart said. Yeah, it must be upstairs. Should we go up? It'll be a lot safer and comfier than down here. You thought about it for a moment. Your only worry was whether you might get blood on something when Bartholomew came back. Though, considering the state of the saloon already, you thought, what the hell? You'll deal with it later. Together. Yeah, let's. You stood and helped Joseph up with his stiff thigh. Still, to get up, too. You walked briskly together past the window out of sight. Yeah, it's not safety glass. Yeah, I've seen old glass. It's not great. You took your time getting upstairs, taking it slow for Joseph, who was huffing and breathing through gritted teeth as he made his way up. You stumbled along the landing, one arm around each other, towards the furthest room. Twisting the handle, you opened the door with some haste, shuffling inside together. Back in the day, we didn't have room keys. You turned and closed the door quietly as you could, still bumping against the frame, the handle creaking as it turned beneath your hand. You waited there, facing the door, giving yourself a moment, breathing slowly, feeling the metal in your palm, gripping it tightly. With the door closed, the peppering of gunshots from outside was much softer. You could imagine them as raindrops against the window. Nice room. You let go and turn around the room, and you agreed. It was nice. It's better than some storeroom. Not as romantic, though, I suppose. It was bright, the sun skimming in through the window, curtains open, fading onto the pillows, a clean bed, a side table, a dresser. You wandered over to the bed, reaching out to touch, but thinking better of it when feeling the blood sticking between your fingers. A large rug laid down on the floor next to the bed, so instead you lowered yourself down to sit on it, leaning back and went to rest against the bed. You rested your head against it too, at least feeling the softness of the sheets brushing your fur, meeting the curve of your neck. Joseph still stood where he was, looking into the middle distance. After a few moments, his glassy stare turned down to you, coming back to life. What do we do now? We wait for the fighting to die out. Once they realize who's died, they should leave. Hopefully we won't be looked for. Right. He shuffled over to the bed and leaned down, groaning as he hit the rug, sitting against the bed as you did now. Ever forgot about how to show a date a good time? Yeah, right? Hell of a first date, right? Get into a gunfight, kill our old bosses, yeah. Sit here and hope for the best. As good a plan as we've had so far. His hurt leg stretched out against the floor as he massaged the muscle gently, bringing the other closer and out of the way. Leg's killing me. Well, not really, thank God. The bleeding looked like it had stopped, thankfully, but it still needed tended to before it got worse. Your ears flicked as you turned your head, and you felt the still air stinging against the exposed tip of your ear. You reached up for a moment, feeling it, fingers running past the matted, sticky fur where blood had stopped there, too. Hello, nurse. Literally, we need a nurse. You didn't get patched up when all the town folk come back, I hope. Didn't see a doc amongst them, though. That's kind of scary. Yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry. You tried not to worry, settling yourself down, trying to rest. You stared at the wall of the bedroom, unsure of what to think, unsure how to feel, tracing the grain of wood with your eyes. You wondered if the numbness you felt made you a monster, some strange lacking that left you sitting there, bereft of feeling. How were you supposed to feel when Curly's sitting behind a house, limp body baking in the sun? How were you supposed to feel with black draped over a window, lifelessly hanging in the shade of the porch? It was the second date, just so you know. That's fair. The second date, sure. I guess in the second date, it's fine to have a gunfight. First date, not so much. The first date, they were just scouting out where they were going to have the gunfight. That's real romance. You couldn't shake the feeling of glass pressed against your neck through your fur, cold against your skin. Like it was still there. Like if you moved in a second, you'd be finding yourself grasping down, drowning, grasping out your throat. Now here's the thing, that is really something that absolutely does happen. Like you go through like a spider web and you're like, ugh, you feel the spider web and you're like shaking it off, and then you walk forward and it's like, I don't have spider web on me anymore, but I feel like I still have it on me, like that, yeah, I can definitely, like, dealing with shards of glass and stuff like that. Like, walking through, like, a gravel pit, and then you feel, like, a stinging in your foot, and then you, like, go to shake it out of your shoe, and, like, there's no gravel in it, right? And you're like, am I insane? Is my brain just, like, going nuts or something? I've had that happen. You are brought back from your thoughts as your ears drew your eyes away from the wall, down to your side, down to where Joseph's hands fidgeted, tapping against the floor. The softest patters against the rug, an unheard rhythm from within him. His breathing caught your eye too, the noticeable rise and fall of his chest, the long exhales through his nose. Your eyes continued up his sullen face, the feathers of his head subtly shaking, nerves rubbing to the surface. What's with the weird black line? Is he still smoking a cigar? At a time like this? You looked back down to his hand and found yourself reaching across, reaching out to take hold. Joseph jolted as you touched him, his hand most reflectively jerking towards you, jerking out of yours. As he came back to the world, he looked down. He relaxed his arm as when he saw, squeezing you a little and letting you steal his hand away from your lap, into your lap. It It was trembling as you stroked your thumb over the feathers, squeezing his hand back firmly. Your hands moved around each other, grappling and dancing, exploring each other's fingers and palms. A distraction from each other's furs and feathers, just the two of you. Jeff's arms being pulled away from him started to make him lean, his body subtly shifting inch by inch closer to you. He started to tilt, and his head tilted too, laying on your shoulder with a comfort heft of weight. You laid your head on his, feather ends tickling through your fur. He untwisted his arm in a comfier position, keeping it near. You took a hold again, holding the back of his hand, digging your fingers between his, intertwining. His ear is smoking. My ear's on fire, man. Like, probably, you know what, that would have been, it's more like cartoony, right? The bullet whizzes by his ear and nicks it, and then, like, the wound starts smoking. Like, woo, that was close. Now you were both still, only the small movements of getting comfortable to disturb you, hands fidgeting together. We're alive, huh? Did we really do that? No, there's no way. When we rolled up on Clemency and I saw y'all, I thought we had no shot. How did we make it out alive? There was an incredulity to his voice that weighed on your heart. He was right, you had nearly died. Would truly destroy the mood. Nearly, but you didn't. You were still alive. You were still here with him. I don't think I care about the wow or the why. We're still alive and they ain't. All that matters to me is that I'm sitting here with you and that I feel how warm you are. Joseph sat up at that, his head no longer on your shoulder, and turned to look at you. Looking into your eyes, you found your hand let go of his, reaching up, wanting to feel him, feel his warmth, the way his stomach moved as he breathed. His heart still beating strong inside him, like it was reaching out to you, quickening as you let your hand lay on his chest. You felt your own heartbeat thrumming louder now, like you had just minutes ago. Not out of fear this time, not that kind. As you reached out past his shoulder, he closed his eyes as your hands rubbed gently up to his neck, feathers ruffled, stroking up till you cupped his face. The feathers of his face were soft, intermingled with the dust and dirt, the specks of dried blood that you felt beneath your hand. Kissy, kissy, kissy. He opened his eyes again, those big honey gold and brown rings that started to flicker around your features, studying you, looking at you in a way you don't think you've ever been before. He cleared his throat a little, dry and unsure of his words, but wanting to say them all the same. You know, I don't. Did I ever tell you how handsome you are? You couldn't help but let out a little snort as you laughed, turning your face away, giggling over the nervous trip of his words. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. No, I don't think you did. Oh, come on now, Tantroo. Looking back at him, you felt like your faces were closer. Your laughter subsided. Cheeks started to warm as the sweetness of his words trickled into your thoughts like honey. You found yourself leaning in slowly as did he, your eyes glancing at each other's mouths. The stretch of, well, he's got a beak, but who's counting anyway? The stretch of tension in your back as your head pushed forward, had your head and hand buried in the softness of his feathers, pulling him closer. Eyes meeting once more, just a moment before. Kissy, kissy. Your faces met. You pressed your lips to the end of his beak, his hot breath on your lips and your mouth, and as yours was in his. Kissy, kissy. You held the kiss there, holding your lips to his beak, unsure if this is what you were supposed to do. You'd never kissed anyone like this before. I mean, usually they had lips and not a beak. You hadn't met anyone like Joseph before. Yeah, usually, not someone with a beak. You just wanted to be close to him like this. Your heart was beating hard in your chest, your cheeks flushed and hot. You heard what sounded like sweeping, releasing in your tail, wagging across the floor. A few more seconds passed before the kiss was broken, your hand falling from his face to hold on to his arm. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, yes. In fact, it's such a Christmas movie that they're literally releasing an action Christmas movie. There was a recent, what was it called? A trailer of like a guy who's like trying to get vengeance for like this gang that like had a fight and like killed his kid, basically. And it's like they're trying to make it a Christmas movie, and it's like, well, jeez. It was the same guy who made John Wick. You looked at each other with quivering breaths. You could feel the strong rhythm of his heartbeat in your hand. A big, gracious smile smiled across Joseph's face. You matched it with a more sheepish one, embarrassed still despite everything. Guessing you never kissed someone with a beak before? What made you guess? I only mentioned it several times in the narrative. Actually, I was improvising there, but whatever. No, I haven't. Or anyone without one for that matter. Well, if that was really your first time, I got nothing to complain about. But if it would... Well, what if it wasn't my first time? Would you complain then? Yes. Yes. I would just say it was very mammal kiss. Oh, really now? Do educate me. You have a lot of lip to it. Birds don't do that. So, well, you see, we tend to kiss a little differently. Your face warmed ever more, your ears burning as you leaned in close, talking softly. Let me show you. One hand came to rest on your leg as he leaned forward, his beak passed flush with your snout. You closed your eyes as he came closer, the whispers of his breath warm on your face as the tip of his beak gently poked at your cheek. He preened and rubbed his beak through your fur, almost nibbling at you, feeling soft scrapes against your skin. Joseph's affections continued against your cheek, the feathers of his face close to your nose, smelling of sweat and tobacco. How to kiss beaks. Ay. I improv too soon. Yes, I gave away the joke. I did that before with the solitaire joke in the first episode too. I was like, yeah, I was playing solitaire like I always do. And then he's like, oh yeah, I play solitaire. He nuzzled through the fur of your face for a few moments before rubbing his beak all along your snout as he dipped his head back. You opened your eyes again, bemused by Joseph's new kiss, to gaze upon his bashful face. From the blush on his cheeks and the usual shyness he was trying to shrug off, you felt as if you'd been entrusted to a secret. Well, what do you make of that? Think I like mine better, but I could get used to those two. Don't judge. He slipped an arm around your back, holding you close as your heart fluttered at the thought of familiar kisses. I would be happy to oblige. His face beamed with a warm smile as he leaned forward with the rest of his head on top of yours. You reached your hand across him and grabbed his other hand, pulling him into your lap. Pulling it into his lap, keeping you all close and like a bundle of sticks. Like a bundle of sticks indeed! Oh man, come on now. You did that on purpose, narrator. God. I'm just gonna let that hang there awkwardly for a moment. Anyway, yes, bundle of sticks. Anyway, letting your mind focus on him, feeling his hand squeeze your side firmly, squeezing his other hand back. Listening to his breathing, to the small shuffles of his clothes, to the faint beats of his heart in his chest. Where's the tragedy coming? Is it coming now? Your ear flicked around a bit as you heard something else. Some subtle noise you wanted to ignore, focusing on the warmth of Joseph. No! Here comes the tragedy. The fight in the street seemed to be over. No longer could you hear the muffled shots, the pops and bangs or cracks that split the air. What you could hear now, though, were rhythmic thuds, distant and soft, but growing louder by the second. It was footsteps, first at the stairs, but now coming along the landing, coming closer. Oh, the townspeople are back. You sat up sharply, knocking Joseph in the chin a little, as you heard one of the doors open and then close. Whoever was checking the rooms. Joseph sat up and took notes of the noises as well, realizing the same as you. What? You're telling me to hush? What are you telling me to hush for? The bundle of sticks thing, or the saying, "Where's the tragedy coming?" Because someone was looking for you, or at least someone was looking for stragglers. Your hand snapped to your gun and pulled it from the holster, aiming it square at the door. You heard more doors open and close. Whoever it was would be here in just a few seconds. The footsteps grew that little bit louder, and you found something familiar within them. There was 4 footsteps, 2 people, but there was another offbeat thump there, out of place. A 5th footstep? That's the sheriff, you dum-dum. As the hunters came to the door, you realized what it was, your hand coming down, pointing the gun away. Joseph whispered urgently, "What are you doing?" It wasn't another footstep you heard. That was the thump of a cane. The door swung open with 2 figures standing in the doorway. A moment of certainty had your gun pointing the way back their way. You put it away, though, as sure enough, you saw what you were expecting. Oh no, that's somebody new. That's like a rabbit or something. It was Sheriff, along with a man unfamiliar to you, a lanky, serious-looking hare who leaned in, still holding the door handle. "Whoa! Put that thing away there. We don't mean you no harm." Both of them had rifles slung over their shoulders, and Sheriff's worried face turned to one of relief when you met eyes. "And there I was getting all twisted up worrying about you two. I knew you'd be alright." "Sheriff? What are you doing here? I thought everyone was out of town." "Well, everyone is, except us. Oh, I should introduce you. This is Matthew. He stayed behind to help me. I couldn't go with everyone else. I was worried about the town and you boys, so Matthew and I stayed here to help wherever we could. We were up on the roof shooting as a distraction. I hope it was of some help." "Wait, that was you? I thought you were supposed to be pacifists." "Well, we didn't actually shoot anyone. We just shot near them, huh? Trying to tip the scales in your favor and trying to give them something else to worry about. Looks like they made the saloon bit of a target, though. Bartholomew's not going to be happy about this mess." "I'm sorry. We'll do what we can to help." Matthew waved it off cheerfully. "Don't worry, my husband's a very forgiving man. But this saloon is like his baby. He'll want to know that you're alright, but after that he's gonna want to fix it up." "So this was his husband? You didn't think your first meeting with him would be like this." "Seems like he got banged up pretty bad, too. I don't know if we should have done more." "No, I think you may have well saved our lives. We knew the danger of what we were doing. Thank you for helping us out like that. You didn't have to." "Yeah, and thanks. We owe you one." Bullshit. "Don't mention it. Well, we'll ask your help when you're doing better. But right now, you need to some seeing to. Luckily for you, the town doctor's here." "Where?" "Is that Matthew?" "You're looking at him." "Of course. The person we didn't meet. Oh, sorry." "Nothing to apologize for. We had quite the day." "What happened to everyone else?" "We told them to leave. Their bosses are dead, and we said more people would come back soon, too. None of them felt like sticking around. You're safe." Inside yourself, you felt a deep sigh of relief you didn't realize you'd been holding on to. You hadn't been breathing right for days.
Those old farts, well, they may have missed. Yeah, we're pacifists. We just shot at people. We missed. Quote, wink, wink. You nod gratefully. Matthew came into the room and started tending to Joseph first, looking over his injuries. You were both hurt and bruised and bloody, but you were safe now. You wondered how long it'd be until you could believe that. You're not sure if you knew back then or when you realized that you'd carry these scars from that day for the rest of your lives. You and Joseph were put in separate rooms at the saloon by Bartholomew, who insisted you stay so that Matthew could treat you both. The month you spent resting and recovering there was full of sleepless nights. Nightmares came often, some more vivid than others. You often woke in the early morning to find your bedsheets drenched in sweat. Some nights you were woken by Joseph shouting. Those nights you'd sit up in bed waiting for him to come into your room and crawl in, lying with him until he fell asleep. Other nights where you felt shaken and sick by what you dreamt about, you'd wake him and ask him if he could sleep in his bed. Neither you talked much otherwise. You kept to yourselves in your rooms resting. Doctor's orders. You weren't sure of their benefits, but Matthew brought you medicines occasionally, often some concoctions involving whiskey. He joked about the perks of having a bartender for a spouse. The taste was vile to you still, but you found it helped just a little. It was odd, you thought, that the respite of bed rest felt like as much work as being up and about at the camp. It sometimes felt like resting was the last thing you were doing. As the days rolled by, there did come a point where you've been waiting for, where you both were feeling fit enough to get up and do something. You still kept to the saloon, only seeing a handful of familiar faces at odd times. The saloon was already clean and mostly fixed up by the time you were recovered enough to lend a hand. You felt like you had missed your opportunity to help out, but Bartholomew assured you'd need to help when the new windows were to be fitted. Now, here's the thing. I can understand Joseph, because Joseph got his leg shot, but I don't recall my character getting injured enough so that they would be, like, bedridden for, like, that long. Like, I think he took some glass cuts, but, like, not too terrible. Maybe it was worse than I was thinking. Right? Medicine always tastes bad. That's the rule back then. If it doesn't taste bad, it's not working. It also brought up that neither of you had joined in on the nightly gathering at the saloon. That now you were better, everyone would love to see you. You'd heard about the gatherings all those nights and you'd been resting. Attendance waxed and waned, but every night the saloon was bustling and merry. Full of people enjoying each other's company, singing songs, telling stories. The idea of being in the midst of that crowd put ice in your stomach. Joseph happily agreed to come down to the next gathering, and so did you. You knew really that it would be a good to be around people. Now here you were, standing in front of the window in your room, looking out past the vague reflection on your face in the glass. Night had fallen, lights in the house down the street snuffed out one by one as people left for the saloon, the downstairs filling with the town. Yeah, losing part of your ear. Yeah, that's a crippling thing. Joseph had his thigh shot when we were. I can't remember where it was. I think it was. Oh yeah, it was the shootist. When we were fighting the vulture guy, is when Joseph got his thigh shot. I need to see people. Already you could hear the muffled sounds of mingling chatter, spatters of loud laughs that grew familiar to you through the walls. You kept looking out the window into the dark desert, knowing that you'd have to move soon. Just waiting another second, another minute. All the time. had to go on leaving the room, a short sigh at yourself as you went off, walking across the room meekly to open the door. You pulled it open just a crack, the warm lamplight in the saloon spilling in, and to your surprise you found Joseph standing there. One hand raised above to knock on your door. He flashed a little smile, clearly asking if he can come in. You opened it just enough to let him in before closing it, leaning in with your shoulder to the door as he stood close to you. Hey. Ah. Your greetings practically stumbled over each other, both clearly antsy, trying to get some words out. Are you ready? You chewed the inside of your cheek a little as you thought. You wanted to be ready. You wanted to go down and see the people who had cared for you. Joseph was here, too. It would be fine. I'm not ready either, if it helps. I figured if dilly-dallying about it will never be ready. Yeah, you're right. You sighed and Joseph patted you on the shoulder, a little reassurance to get you going. All right, let's go have a good time. That's the spirit. Joseph followed behind you as they opened the door wide and stepped out, eyes adjusting from the darkness of your room. He closed the door as you left and walked along the landing together, down the stairs looking over the disparate crowds. Clemency was a small town, but with so many packed into here, it felt like even the busiest of bars you glanced inside of before. As you neared the bottom of the stairs, you heard a voice call out. Tantroo, Joseph, over here. You looked over at the bar and saw Bartholomew waving at you. His arm struck up high to catch you over the taller patrons milling past. It wasn't just him either. Standing at the bar were other familiar faces you were happy to see, namely Jacob and the sheriff. You took Joseph's hands and walked through with him, excusing your way past people to the bar. Jacob and sheriff sidled along to make some room between them, a friendly gap for you to both squeeze into. It's good to see you well again, Tantroo. I found myself rather worried about after what had happened. I'm glad to see you too, Jacob. I didn't lose another limb, so I think I have nothing to complain about. He gave you a gentle, reassuring smile, seemingly genuinely calmed by your jokyish reassurance. Sheriff leaned in to address you both. It's good to see you both in good health. It's good to see you both in good health for sure. And you'll be in better health with the drink down you. Bartholomew! That's what I'm here for. On the house, fellas. What are you drinking? Damn, really? You sure? You've been taking up your rooms for now free drinks? You're really spoiling us. Hate caps button. You need something? So we can toast to your health. Come on, go take your pick. Oh, well, I'll just stick with a beer. Alrighty, how about you, Tantroo? Can you do me a whiskey? Felt Joseph giving you a quizzical look. Surprised you'd even choose such a hard liquor. Sure thing, let me get those. He turned and busied himself with finding what you'd ordered, and you looked at Joseph, as his face confused over your choice. What? I've acquired a bit of taste for it. No, I can respect it, just didn't see it being your kind of thing. I'm full of surprises, huh? Sure are. Yeah, having medicine, it kind of grew on me. It's like a, what is it called? What the heck do they call it? Sort of a Stockholm syndrome. It's like I had enough medicine with whiskey in it. Now I actually like whiskey, apparently. Yo, I want to take you to a game. Anyway, you felt a little brush rise in your cheeks as he gave you a wily smile. Bartholomew set down a stout tumbler of whiskey alongside the beer on the counter. You two took your drinks as the sheriff started to speak. That's more like it. Now, a toast to Tantroo and Joseph. You boys pulled off something incredibly brave, and I'm thankful you made it. Hear, hear. You went around clinking glasses with Jacob, Sheriff, and Bartholomew before taking a sip of your whiskey. Before it even reached your lips, the smell was burning your nose, and continued to burn as you sipped it down your throat. It was a blatantly pleasant burn of sorts. You weren't sure if that was the way it was meant to be, but you enjoyed it all the same. So, boys, I don't know what your plans are now that you've all fixed up, but I thought I'd like to take the moment to ask you if you wanted to stay in Clemency. I really think you'd fit in here. It's just an invitation, in mind. No need to give me an answer now, but just think about it for me. You and Joseph glanced at us for a moment, both humbled and blindsided, unsure what to say. Why did the question leave your grip? Why did the question leave your grip, you gripping your glass, fidgeting your thumb over the rim? Wasn't this what you wanted? Thank you, Sheriff. That's a very kind offer. We'll have to sleep on it, I think. No problem. Just a suggestion, really. Don't mind me none. Truth be told, I can't say we have much in the way of plans as of now. Yeah, no, I haven't. We really haven't thought about what to do next. That was the honest truth. All you focused on was getting away from Curly, out from under his shadow. Now you were free. You could do anything, yet you couldn't think of anything. Tightness took a hold of your chest. If it isn't my favorite patients. Matthew came wandering over to the bar and greeted you both with a beaming smile. Great to see you up and at it. All thanks to you, Doc. Oh, you're too kind. I'll drink to that. Took a swig of beer he held as to Joseph in kind. I'm sitting at a poker game right now, so I thought I'd wander around to see who's game. I'll join in. Oh, alright, I've already got another guy as well, so just need one more person. You able to sneak away from the bar, hon? He spoke past you to Bartholomew, who rolled his eyes. I admire your tenacity, Matthew, but I'm not going to join your poker, on your poker, no matter how many times you ask. Alright, I can't blame a man for trying. Joseph caught your eye and gave you a look. You mind if I go? To which you just nudged him encouragingly with your elbow. I'm game if you're prepared to lose. Oh, that's fighting talk. I should have known you'd be up for it. Come with me to the table. Joseph gave your arm a gentle squeeze before he grabbed his beer and headed off with the sheriff towards the back of the saloon. You watched him disappear in the throng of the people at the back of the bar, just left with Jacob and Bartholomew. Not a gambler then, Jacob? Oh, heavens, no. Not that I have any particular objection. I'm just terrible at it. I have to say my poker face is quite dire. You chuckled at that, certainly seeing how it could be the case. Your eyes turned down to your drink, small talk dying away. Staring into the clear liquid, that streaked the glass as you rolled it around in your hand. Were you a whiskey drinker now? You couldn't have foreseen that a month ago. Nor could you have foreseen that before that you'd meet Joseph, that you'd end up here, having left the gang, Curly gone. Thinking back on it, it felt like you were always going to be under Curly's thumb. What else was there for you? That was going to be your life until the tides of fate swept you somewhere else. You didn't think you'd ever have a chance like this. Now you have the chance to choose your life. Everything is still just as hazy. What comes next? I know that look. Turn your eyes up to Bartholomew as he put elbows on the bar, leaning in with a friendly, knowing demeanor. That's the face of someone who's got a lot going on upstairs. There's some very interesting at the bottom of that glass. You thinking about what Sheriff said? Yeah, it's just I don't know. What are your plans now? You must have some idea where you want to do. Can't say I do. I not thought about it, I guess. You know, you don't have to stay in Clemency. You can go elsewhere, really. Oh, yes, I would agree. Traveling is an incredible way to learn and to discover what kind of man you are. What kind of man? Indeed. It's easy when you're young to think you know the world, think you know yourself as well. That is what I thought before I went on my pilgrimage. The man who left Pennsylvania all those years ago is not the same man who arrived in Clemency. In fact, the man who arrived in Clemency and the man sitting at this bar now are not the same either. Convening with your fellow people gives a real deal of clarity and substance to your character. I think I see what you mean. You know what he meant, of course. You'd run with Curly for years now. Who you were when you left home and who you are now are strangers to each other. You weren't sure if that person from years ago met you now, that you would be someone you wanted to know. It's not just yourself either. You can learn a lot about someone else with traveling with them. Me and Matthew learned so much about each other on the trail, both good and the bad. I don't think you really want to know someone I don't think you really know someone until you've had to share the same bed for weeks on end. It'd be good for you and Joseph. Maybe. You could feel your cheeks turning red. Joseph had talked about riding east before, but that was more like running away at the time. What Bartholomew said stuck in your head. Do you even know Joseph? Do you really know him? You thought you did, but really you've only just met. You don't really know that much about each other. While you may feel things for him you never had with anyone else, and you've gone through hell and high water to be here together, is that enough? Is that a reason to stick together? Do you want to know who he is? Do you want him to know who you are? You have no idea what the future holds. You have no idea about anything. You don't know Joseph. He doesn't know you either. You don't even know yourself. Tar was welling up in your chest, coating your insides, making you heavy, breathing deep, tapping your fingers on the bar. It was too warm in here. Too many people. You need some air. You feeling alright, Tantroo? His words snapped you out of your thoughts, but the feelings remained. You nodded subtly. I didn't even know I snored, because it's like I can't hear myself when I'm sleeping. Yeah, I think I'm going to go outside, get some air. Giving them both a weak smile of reassurance, you left your drink on your bar and stepped out away, passing strangers to head out the doors. The night air was refreshing as it cooled your head. You welcomed the chill breeze from the desert that ruffled through your fur. You didn't hang around long on the saloon porch, walking away into the town, leaving behind the yellow light that spilled from its windows. You left the town, too, past the sign that read its name, making your way up a path at the outskirts that brought back forlorn memories. Memories of feelings not unlike the ones you were harboring now as you stood at the top of the climb on a familiar cliff. You took slow, deep breaths of the night air, filling your lungs, clearing your head. You wandered over the cliff edge and gazed over the town, the light of the saloon stark against the inky dark. The desert was quiet. The desert was quiet save for the whistle of wind carrying the chirp of insects. You crouched down and fell on your haunches, sitting and letting your legs hang over the edge of the cliff. It was funny to think about how many life changing happened to you up here. Meeting Joseph, spending the night with him, sowing the seeds of your plans to be free. Was there some comfort to being up here, perhaps? Fond and fresh memories that calmed you, reminded you that why you were here. Still, there was a gnawing feeling at your heart no matter how much you hoped for there not to be. Why are you feeling like this? Why are you so worried? Why are you so scared? What's wrong with you? Shouldn't this freedom you have now be a good thing? Why does it feel like everything is about to come crashing down around your ears? What about Joseph? Sweet Joseph that you just made a promise with. You let out a heavy sigh. You didn't expect to be weighed down with so many thoughts tonight. That was supposed to be a celebration. Now you were up here away from everyone, many contradictions running through your mind. That's always been your answer to things, running away. The only time you didn't was because of that promise. How stupid can you be to choose to fight and then want to run away from everything you were fighting for? You'd probably run away from yourself if you could. You just wished you could answer why. You sat for a little while till the wind up here was still a pleasant breeze. It blew past your head, cooling your warm ears, taking small grains of sand with it that floated off the cliff. Not thinking about much at all as you looked out into the night, at the distant, dark blue silhouettes of the hills. Howdy, stranger. What brings you out here? You were drawn from your trance by Joseph's voice all of a sudden. You were so out of it that you hadn't heard him approach. You turned and looked at him. He was standing a few paces away, his beer in one hand, your whiskey in the other. Mind if I join you? You nodded at the ground, letting him know that he could come sit. Wait, you do mind that I could join you? You're supposed to say no. That's always been something that confuses me. Like, you mind if I yes? Oh, that's a negative. I remembered when that confused me as a kid. I'm like, wait, yes is no? He walked over and lowered himself carefully to the seat next to you, keeping the drink steady. He held your whiskey glass out to you by his fingers, and you took it as he put it out on your palm. Thanks. No problem. So, like I said, what brings you out here? You absent-mindedly scratched the side of your glass with a blunt claw as you thought of your answer. I just needed some air. Yeah, it was a little stuffy in that saloon. If you ask me, did Bartholomew a favor breaking some of those windows? Aired out the place. You giggled a little at that. He was good at making you feel better. How are you always so charming? Seems to come easy to you. He looked a little bashful at the compliment, scratching his head, unsure what to say. I don't know. I just picked it up over time, I guess. Helps get you out of fights and whatnot. Yeah, makes sense. You feeling alright? Didn't say anything when you left. Sorry, I didn't want to bother you during your poker game. You thought about what you wanted to say, but so many things vied for your tongue. Everything swelled up inside you. Chest fit to burst. You didn't know if you could admit how you were feeling to him. It almost felt too personal. Felt wrong. Felt harsh. I feel strange. That's the simplest way I can put it. He looked at you for a moment, eyebrow cocked, unimpressed. Lay it on me. Huh? Lay it on me. I want to know what you're thinking. I know you've got stuff on your mind and you ain't telling me. You blew through your lips with a sigh. Thinking about whatever you should. He was right after all. You don't have to hide now your feelings anymore. If you were honest, you didn't want to keep hiding it. I'm scared, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. What I'm going to do next. Everyone at the saloon was asking us about plans, and I realized I don't have any. I didn't think that far ahead. Now we're here and I don't even know what to do. I feel like an animal that's been let out of its cage and gotten lost in the wilderness. What are you scared of? What's the worst that could happen? I don't know. That's why I'm scared. What if I do the wrong thing, make the wrong decision? What if I decide to settle down in clemency like Sheriff said and I don't like it? Where would I go? I've had so much of my life wasted running with Curly. I don't want to lose more of it to bad decisions. I've made too many of those choices. I don't want to waste my life either. We can make those choices together now, though. We could turn over a new leaf. I know we could, but I'm worried about you too. I was talking with Jacob and Bartholomew, and I realized I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. You don't know me either. Joseph's face was solemn. He's just stared into your eyes, and like he was trying to unpick some meaning from your expression. I've done horrible things, Joseph. So have I. I don't know that I like the person I've become after Curly. I don't trust myself. You did what you needed to do to stay alive. You don't have to like it. You were growing frustrated with his rebuttals, like he wasn't listening to you. You twisted your body around, one leg up, facing him head on. I love you, and I'm scared of hurting you. I'm scared that the man who could hurt Curly is the same man that could hurt you. I'm scared that if we really knew each other, we wouldn't be here in the first place. The wind whistled in your ears. Joseph's face was still, eyes squinting a little, contemplating your words. A few moments passed before he opened his beak to speak. I love you too, and I'm not scared of you. I want to find out who you are, and hope I have the courage to find out who I am. I'm scared as hell too. I know what you mean. Now that I'm free of that gang, I don't know what to do with myself. All I know is I want to be with you. Maybe we'll make bad choices, but who the hell cares? You helped show me I don't have to live in fear, Tantroo. I think if we're scared, that means we have our heads screwed on right. But it doesn't have to stop us from living. You can make whatever mistakes, we can make whatever mistakes we want. We can stay in clemency forever. We can go travel in the country. I don't give a hoot. Tonight ain't the night to worry about the rest of your life. Whatever happens to us, if I could kiss your face at the end of the day, then everything will be alright. A great wave of relief washed over you as Joseph spoke. You didn't realize how much you needed to hear that from him. A kiss and a prayer? He laughed. Yeah, on a kiss and a prayer we'll be just fine. Story of our lives, huh? He leaned in and pecked you on the cheek, bringing a blush of warmth to them that even the night breeze could not cool. Seems pretty good to me. Now come on, let's get back down there and have a good time. I think someone said if they were gonna dust off that old piano and start playing us all a tune. He meant to stand up and reach out, placing your hand over his. Wait. Is it alright if we just sit here for a little longer? Then we can go down. It's a nice night, is all. He smiled, eyes softly tilting to the sky, looking to the stars. Sure is. Want to stay here a spell? That's just fine by me. As he settled back down, he scooted ever closer to you, shoulder to shoulder, and you tilted your head to rest on him. You slipped your hand in his. He held yours tightly, squeezing back between your fingers. The night may be cold, but he was all warmth that you needed. You spent so long looking out for yourself, looking out for people who didn't care about you. Now you can look out for each other. The end. Woo! I did pick the right spot to stop, didn't I? Holy cow, that was like the same length as last time. So let's see how small the credit roll is. At Paranoid Hawk. So we have 2 people, 3 people, music. Sound effects, free sound effects from... So that's technically 3 people, and... Kangaroo Vindalio. Wonder what his sounds were. So there's like 1, 3, 4, 5, 6... They had more beta testers than frickin' people who worked on the game. Oh wow, you can actually click on those? Or just... All our love to our friends and partners who supported us and made it possible for us to make our gay little game. You mean the world to us. Living on a prayer. So how are they going to end this? Like, show beans? That's the end. Thank you for playing Lookouts. This has been a huge project for both us, and we're proud, super proud and happy to be able to share it with you after for so long. If you enjoyed the game, please leave a comment or rating on itch.io, Twitter, wherever. We love hearing from people about their time with the game. If you'd like to support us, we can keep making games. You should check out the paid Gold Edition. €5. Gold Edition comes out a bunch of stuff, the full soundtrack, loads of original art, doodles, wallpapers, a bunch of art book. Once again, thank you for playing from the bottom of our hearts. You can click the button that'll pop up next to the screen to restart the game. Colon Hockey. The testing's important, yes. I wonder if the testers caught the music thing, or maybe it was stopped on that. Twitter is bleach. It's no longer called Twitter. Their game was in production for so long. It was, to be fair, the game was released in 2022, and at that point, nobody could know that Twitter was now going to be X in just a year's time. We got the bad end in Twitter. Anyway, I can see why it was nominated, absolutely. Now we gotta loop back around to the start. Now it goes. So that's, you know, that's the interesting thing about it too, is like the game is literally like, it feels sort of like the cool thing about it is that since it doesn't have like a main menu, and it's sort of like one of those old like roll things, like you're just like rolling the tape and it just kind of like moves in a direction. So it doesn't feel sort of like a game. It feels like one of those like rolling films, like you just rewind it and then just start over again. It doesn't feel like, oh, I have a menu and options and stuff. Send me the soundtrack. I don't know if I have the soundtrack. I didn't buy the gold edition. But yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely a fun experience, and I definitely think people who like westerns and like narratives and like reading would definitely enjoy this. It definitely was a good game. So anyways, guys, thank you guys very much for watching tonight. We will go back to Niche next week to do the vote for the next game that we'll be playing on stream. And do a screenplay. You'd have to get like fursuits and stuff. Yeah, you know, that would be a fun like long-term experiment, right? Just like make like a freaking western that has those characters, and you'd have to like make costumes and stuff. It's small enough where you could get like a small thing and do that. Obviously, like fursuits are kind of expensive though, so like it would definitely need to be like a thing. But another thing you could do is the thing that might be actually less expensive than actually doing like an actual in-person movie film version of this would be like making like VR worlds and avatars and stuff like that, and sort of like getting people to like act out the things in like a virtual world or something like that. That way you could also do it like, that way you don't have to like get everyone in one place and do all that kind of stuff, because production is very, very difficult. Anyway. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. We will do Niche next time, and we'll do additional voting, so I will get that set up for next week, and we will see you on the 14th for Niche. and voting for the next game. Have a good one, guys.